Greetings, Guardians of Dominion. Zeus here with another enlightening video. Today, we're diving into a hot topic that every player should pay close attention to: which heroes you should avoid developing. Whether you're planning your next investment or wondering why some heroes never make it into top-tier teams, this video is your warning signal. I'll be picking one hero from each branch role, based on my personal experience and the insights gathered from the Olympus team. Are these heroes still viable in modern metas? Do their skills scale, or are they stuck in the past? Are they helping in offense or defense, or simply taking up space? Stay tuned, I'll break it all down with practical tips, personal opinions, and the kind of analysis you won't find anywhere else. Let's begin. Starting with the magic role branch, the hero I recommend avoiding is Lilith. Before her rework, she was one of the strongest magic heroes in the game. In fact, she used to be one of my top picks for defense. But ever since her rework, her relevance has been fading fast. Day by day, her use cases have dropped, and now she's barely seen in competitive modes like Clash of Worlds or Guild Wars. I haven't seen Lilith in our own defensive lines for a long time, and the same goes for top guild competitors. She's simply not part of the meta anymore. I've personally tested Lilith in the Foundry, hoping to revive her potential. Her skill possession does scale with health, which sounds promising on paper. More health means more damage. But in practice, the results just weren't there. Her performance was underwhelming, even with heavy investment. Now, some might argue that Mojo is even less viable than Lilith. But here's the thing, I still see Mojo being used, especially in offensive strategies. When paired with Biscuit, Mojo can be surprisingly effective at stripping away Sebastian's shield faster than most heroes. That alone gives him a role in certain matchups. Lilith, on the other hand, just doesn't offer enough. Sure, her artifact grants magic penetration to the team, but her activation is slow and often poorly timed, which makes her synergy with other magic damage dealers unreliable. At the end of the day, there are simply better alternatives to Lilith in almost every aspect: offense, defense, and utility. Moving on to the tank role branch, there are actually two heroes on my list to avoid, and honestly, it's tough to say which one is worse, Luther or Jiri. Both of these tanks have fallen far behind the current meta. I haven't seen either of them used in Clash of Worlds or Guild Wars defenses for a very long time. They're practically extinct from competitive lineups. Let's start with Luther. Yes, he has a control role, which gives him some theoretical value in the engineering building in Clash of Worlds. But even there, other tanks with control abilities outperform him significantly. I've tested Luther in the Foundry as well, and he offers nothing special. His presence feels outdated and underwhelming. Jiri isn't much better. She also got tested thoroughly in Foundry and, just like Luther, brings very little to the table. Early in Clash of Worlds, she had a short-lived moment in the shooting range building, showing some promise, but that didn't last long either. Both of these tanks are in desperate need of a skill rework to stay relevant. But if I had to choose the worst of the two, I'd go with Luther, and here's why. His Violet skill, Doctrine of Faith, is supposed to be a powerful defensive boost, but it only increases his magic defense by 1100. That's laughably low in today's game, where magic penetration stats can exceed 50,000 or even 60,000, and magic artifacts alone can add another 50,000. Luther's skill just doesn't hold up. It's like bringing a wooden shield to a cannon fight. Jiri, on the other hand, still has one niche use. She's actually the only tank who can stand her ground against Ishmael for a longer time. So while she's far from optimal, she at least has that one small saving grace. Now let's talk about the Marksman role branch, where we have three heroes that are long overdue for a rework: Fox, Ginger, and Astrid and Lucas. These three marksmen have been completely pushed out of the meta. You won't see them on defense in Clash of Worlds, Guild Wars, Arena, or even Asgard. They're fragile, unreliable, and simply don't deliver what's expected from a marksman. In my opinion, the worst of the three is Fox. Let me explain why. Fox carries an armor penetration artifact, which should make her a valuable support for physical teams. But there's a problem, her artifact only activates with her ultimate skill, and her energy gain is painfully slow. Because of that, her artifact often activates too late to support the team when it actually matters. And when it comes to damage, she just doesn't compete. I ran tests with her side by side with Ginger, and Fox consistently delivered the lowest damage output between the two. That's a big red flag for a hero in the marksman role, especially in a game where burst and timing are critical. So we're looking at a hero who can't support the team reliably, can't dish out competitive damage, and lacks survivability. That combination easily qualifies Fox as the worst marksman hero to invest in right now. Now let's move on to the healer role branch, and this one is a real challenge. Unlike the other roles, I honestly can't pick a worst healer here, because every single healer has their place. Whether it's in specific defenses or niche offensive setups, all of them bring value at some stage of the game. Some may not be beginner friendly, but once you reach the endgame, they each have their purpose. That said, if I had to name one healer who I think needs a little help, not because they're bad, but because they could use a fresh boost or rework, it would be Marcus. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Marcus is weak. He has plenty of use cases across various team compositions, and I personally use him myself. His resurrection ability and healing can truly turn the tide of battle. But as the game continues to evolve, Marcus is starting to feel a bit outdated. So far, only one healer has received an Ascension skill, and I believe Marcus would benefit greatly from being the next. A well-designed Ascension skill could bring his kit in line with the current meta, and make him feel fresh and relevant again. Now let's shift to the support role branch, and in my opinion, the weakest support hero right now is Andvari. Once considered a direct counter to the early Kark meta, Andvari had a strong place in the game, but that was 5 years ago. Since then, the game has evolved dramatically, and unfortunately, Andvari hasn't kept up. This hero doesn't just need new Ascension skills, he needs a complete rework. His current abilities feel outdated and out of sync with today's competitive level. While he's occasionally seen in Clash of Worlds defenses, especially in the Engineerium due to his control role and high durability, his overall impact is minimal. Andvari is often placed in the tank position, but let's be honest, he's not a true tank. His armor is nowhere near the level of other frontline heroes, and his magic defense is extremely low, making him highly vulnerable to magic-heavy teams. That alone puts him at a huge disadvantage in the current meta. And as a support, he simply doesn't offer any meaningful advantage. His skill set lacks the utility and game-changing effects that modern support heroes bring to the battlefield. So whether you look at him as a support or as a tank, Andvari just doesn't fit in today's top team compositions. Now moving on to the warrior role branch, and the hero I consider the weakest in this group is Elmir. I haven't seen Elmir used in Clash of Worlds, Guild Wars, Asgard, or even Arena defenses for a very long time. He's one of those heroes that had a moment of relevance. A few years back, he was occasionally placed in front of Dante as a counter, but that strategy quickly faded. Elmir relies heavily on the Kayn pet patronage to dodge incoming damage and activate his ultimate. Without Kayn, he becomes extremely fragile, and that means he often dies before even having the chance to support the team with his artifact, which provides armor penetration. That artifact could be useful, but only if Elmir survives long enough to trigger it, and too often, he doesn't. I'll give credit where it's due, Elmir has great graphics, and his animations still look impressive. But looks aside, his abilities desperately need a full rework. This isn't just about adding in Ascension skill, his entire kit needs to be brought up to modern standards to make him viable again. I'd honestly love to see a new version of Elmir, with reimagined skills that give him a true purpose in the current meta. Until then, he remains at the bottom of the warrior role list. And finally, we arrive at the control role branch. In this group, the weakest hero, without a doubt, is Darkstar. Now on paper, her Ascension skills look impressive. They seem like they could make a real impact. But in practice, they fall flat. When you decide to use Darkstar, there are a few critical things you need to consider, and they work against her. First, her control abilities can easily be countered by either Sebastian or Chorus, and right now, Chorus is everywhere. That alone severely limits her usefulness in any serious lineup. Second, even when her control does land, it usually affects the first enemy in line, which in most cases is the tank. And let's be honest, controlling a tank brings almost no advantage to your team. It doesn't stop the real threats, like damage dealers or healers in the backline. You might think pairing her with Mara would make a difference, and yes, it does extend her control duration from 4 seconds to 10. But there's a catch. Her first skill must be activated within the 10-second window to extend the control, and that timing is tricky. It's not easy to pull off consistently, and missing that window means you lose the main benefit of her Ascension upgrade. In my opinion, the biggest issue is her skill cooldown. It needs to be faster. Without quicker activation, Darkstar just can't apply enough pressure to justify a spot on your team. Even after receiving Ascension skills, we still don't see Darkstar used in offense or defense in any game mode. That says a lot. She has potential, but right now, she's sitting at the bottom of the control role ladder. And there you have it, Guardians, a full breakdown of the heroes I recommend avoiding from each branch role. From Lilith's low fall from grace, to Luther's outdated defenses, Fox's lack of impact, and Vari's forgotten potential, Elmir's fragile kit, and Darkstar's theoretical control that just doesn't hold up, these are the heroes that, in my experience and based on the Olympus team's testing, simply don't measure up in today's Dominion. But now, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with these picks? Have you found success with any of these heroes in specific setups? Drop your thoughts, your favorite builds, or even your own avoid at all costs list down in the comments. I always enjoy reading your feedback and learning from your experiences too. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss another deep dive into the world of Hero Wars. And remember, the path to victory isn't just about who you build, it's also about who you leave behind. Stay sharp, stay strategic, and as always, salute and friendship.